I am a fan of books that are strange and are dark fairy tales. And this book I would kind of categorize as a dark fairy tale. It's not quite horror and it's very atmospheric. It takes place in Alaska and it follows this woman named Birdie. She is 26 or 27 and she has a daughter who is 6 named Emmeline, and they work at this lodge in Alaska. Well, Emmeline doesn't work there. She lives with her mom in a little cabin on the property. Her mom's boss's name is Della. Della runs the show, and we come to the story. Birdie had been working the night before, and she is now hungover. But the night before, she may have got a little bit wasted at work and was also doing cocaine throughout the night with this guy Roy in the bathroom. So we're off to a great start. Cool, you have a 6-year-old. Awesome. And so that morning, she wakes up and decides she's going to go fishing and leaves her 6-year-old alone in the cabin. But it's cool because she's sleeping, right? Not really. That kid could wake up at any time. But she's like, oh no, she'll sleep till whenever. So she goes and goes fishing. The little girl, of course, wakes up and she's waiting and waiting for her mom to come home. And her mom is not coming home. And so she goes outside and she walks to the edge of the woods behind the cabin and is kind of like looking, and she's getting more worried and more worried. And then she sets off into the woods. And then eventually the mom comes back and discovers her daughter is missing and starts freaking out, and then goes and talks to Della. So Della definitely wants to yell at her about the prior night, but she's not going to because now her daughter's missing. So we start out with a bang. Also, the atmosphericness and the descriptiveness of the Alaska landscape and everything that's going on from when the mom does go fishing. You see like the environment that she's walking through and how the fish are biting, and like her backstory of how learning how to fish from her dad and this, that, and the other. And when Birdie, the mom, she'd been coming back through the woods, she ran into this guy, Arthur. And Arthur's a little bit strange. He seems to have some weirdness about him that most of the people who have lived in the area kind of know what's going on with him. But he's missing an ear and he has some disfiguration, was in some sort of fight. We don't know. But Birdie had run into him and she got some weird vibes from him. And then she went her way and he went his. He had said something about going fishing, but he didn't have a fishing pole, so not sure how he's supposed to do that. Anyways, so her daughter is missing for a hot minute, and then eventually they do find the daughter, and she is okay. But it was caused a big, ruckus and was really scary. And then Birdie, she probably knows she needs to do better and be a better freaking mother because she's kind of being really bad at it right now. So her boss sits her down, talks to her, and she's like, you're going on day shifts. No more night shifts for now. Gee, I wonder why. And Birdie kind of thought, oh, hey, like when she found out she was pregnant with her daughter originally, like, cool, this is going to fix me. I'm not going to have all these urges to do this stuff anymore and drink a ton and do drugs or whatever else it was that she was getting into. So that didn't change. She's surprised, still the same person, but she wants to do better. And even though she doesn't necessarily want to be on day shifts because she's not going to make as much money and she can barely afford herself and her daughter's life and existence, she knows this is probably for the best. And so she starts to try being a better mom, and that Arthur guy who she ran into in the woods, he starts coming around and they start talking, and he seems to be very kind and very nice and is not the same kind of like crappy dude that Birdie normally would go for. And as they slowly build this kind of relationship, he's very strange, and the way that he talks and the way he experiences things in nature is kind of strange. And he lives like he has a cabin that's like on the other side of like the river and the mountain in this area called like North Fork. His dad lives over by this lodge. His dad's name's Warren. He's only over on this side for a part of the year, and the rest of the year he spends over in this really secluded area. As they get to know each other, Birdie starts to fall for this guy and they start to kindle a relationship, and eventually it comes to the point where she's going to go move in with Arthur and take her daughter with her. Fresh start, get away from everything. Like, Arthur doesn't drink, smoke, do any kind of substances, but his backstory and his personage is somewhat strange, and a lot of the locals seem to know what it is. And even one of them was trying to tell her what it was about Arthur, and probably something she should know, taking herself and her daughter into this environment that, okay, if you don't want any really big spoilers, maybe don't watch the rest of this video. I'm going to tell you what the deal is with Arthur. If you've watched the short I made about this, you already know. So Arthur is a bear the people who live in this area kind of know it. And so this one guy, Sid, was at this summer solstice party they were having with all the local people and the people who worked at the lodge and whatnot. Was kind of trying to tell her this, that he's kind of like a shapeshifter and whatnot. And she just wasn't catching on and didn't get it. This is probably something she should have known before moving over there, you know, especially because when he's in his bear form, it's all instinctual, you know, it's not like his human thoughts aren't quite the same as the bear thoughts, so there's a possibility of bear attack. But anyways, these two, they fall in love, they move there. And then the daughter actually ends up knowing that Arthur is a bear because she would go and hang out in this one little shed in the area, and there was this like little spy hole through the back. And one day she saw Arthur actually take his bear skin off and then bury it. And so she knows, but she doesn't tell her mom because she doesn't think she should. I don't remember what the daughter's reasoning was for this, but she doesn't tell. So, what could possibly go wrong with this, right? It's a very strange story. I had a lot of frustration sometimes with the main character, just the way she would behave. Like, I don't know, she didn't want to grow up, Neverland, and didn't want to really be responsible for someone else. I mean, she loved her daughter, but she also was very selfish and immature and not quite always of rational thought. Like, okay, so eventually, in this book, as you would probably guess, she does eventually learn about Arthur being a bear. Because at some point, Arthur, she wants him to stay because he just goes off and he wanders and he disappears for days. And she's like, I want you to be here. I want you to be present. And so he finally does. And he stops putting his bear skin on, and it's literally killing him. He's losing all this weight, and she doesn't understand. And the daughter's like, you have to tell mom about your fur. And so they finally show her and explain it. And once she realizes he's a bear, the way the mom reacts to this is effed up, and it made me angry at her because she put herself and her daughter in danger. It's like, I don't care if this is a person you know, when they are in bear form, they are in bear mindset. They're not in human mindset. You might want to watch out for yourself and your daughter. Like, hey, maybe don't leave the door open all night because the bear lives there. No, no, no. The bear, when it's in human form, lives in there, and you should not let the bear in when you and your daughter are there. So it's kind of a crazy story. Yeah, the main character, God, you get so frustrated with her. You're like, why are you such an idiot? That was the whole point, right? It's a really heartfelt, sad, emotional, strange, and eerie story. And I really enjoyed my time in the pages. Blackwood's Blue Sky by Eowyn Ivey is quite a fantastic read. And if you like dark fairy tales and that sounds interesting to you, you just might like this book. Also, if you enjoyed hanging out today, hit that subscribe button, come back, see me again, and we'll talk about more bookish things and weird stuff.